Welcome to our lesson number 1. Today, we're going to talk about career and job market overview. We're going to talk about software quality assurance, also known as QA, which stands for quality assurance, not questions and answers. It's quality assurance. And we're going to talk about testing. We're going to talk about how you can get a 70 to 100K jobs, $35 to $50 per hour after just 1 month program and around 2 to 3, sometimes 4 jobs, 2 to 4 months of job search. Something very straightforward, very simple. Anyone can do it. You don't need prior experience. You don't need technical background. And today we're going to talk about the industry, about the salaries, about what we actually do at work, and of course, how we can help you get this job in the very, very next future. All you need is just to follow instructions, listen carefully. If you're going to have any questions, we would love to answer those. Just please bear with us, listen carefully to the lesson. Most of the questions are going to be answered during the lesson. In case that you're still going to have questions in the end, we will leave time and I will answer all of your questions, guys. Okay? Awesome. Now let me tell you more about us and about QA. I want you to meet Careerist, your career partner. We are a leading career training platform pioneered by industry experts to maximize the students' hiring opportunities. When I say industry experts, I actually mean that our instructors, our teachers are the best of the best. Software QA engineers, software quality assurance engineers in test, QA leads, QA managers, with a lot of experience that come here to share their experience and their knowledge with you guys to help you get this job in minimum time with maximum possible rate. They are here to help you avoid the mistakes that most people are having during the job search, the mistakes that we used to have in the beginning of our career, and of course, to make sure that you will not waste your time and your effort. That's why we are here for. They are working in companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, Intel, and many other Silicon Valley and not only Silicon Valley companies. We are supported already by more than 250 career staff, which makes us the largest online QA course in the United States and allows us to help you and support you much more than anyone else ever before. That's why we see amazing results. Our graduates are already working in 37 states now. Only for the past 4 months, we have more than 200 graduates getting jobs across 37 states. Of course, most of those jobs are remote and you can do them from home. Our graduates are landing high-paying jobs in record time. When we say high-paying jobs, it's actually what I mentioned before, $35 to $50 per hour, which is 70 to 100K per year. You're always going to have exceptions. Someone will get 65K, someone will get 110 or 115K. But most of you are going to get 70 to 100K per year if it's going to be a full-time job, or $35 to $50 per hour if it's going to be a contract. Usually it's like 50-50. 50% getting full-time, 50% getting contract jobs. Then if they want, they switch to full-time after that. And basically you will be able to get both contract and full-time job. As long as you get 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour, you're going to be good. And whenever we say record time, it's usually between 1 to 3 months, but sometimes it takes up to 4 months. As long as you follow instructions, you will see the results. The results are going to be interviews, calls, and eventually job offers. Now, exceptions happen here as well. Sometimes it will take 2 weeks. To some people, it will take 4 months and 2 weeks. But usually, most of you will get it between 1 to 3 months, up to 4 months if you're just following the instructions. Whenever we say instructions, we mean watching the lessons, doing the homework, doing the quizzes. That's going to be very simple, straightforward, will not take more than 15 minutes to most of you. And of course, at the end of the course, joining the internship, practicing what you learned, being in touch with your mentor, just following very simple, straightforward instructions, guys. Once you do that, you definitely see the interviews, the calls, and eventually job offers. Careerist mission is to provide access to high demand, high paying careers in tech. Now, is this course for you? First of all, you need to be authorized to work in the US. It could be a green card, it could be a citizenship, it could be a work authorization that allows you to work anywhere, anytime, without limitations and without sponsorship. For example, EAD asylum. If you don't have a work authorization, you should get it first. All right? Now, you need to be comfortable speaking English and reading English. It doesn't matter if you have an accent. It doesn't matter if your English is not 100% perfect. As long as people can understand you and you can understand others, you're good. Okay? You want to start a career in tech because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get IT jobs, you're going to work in tech. So you should be aware of that. You need to be ready to accept 65 to 100K job offers because that's the amounts that you are about to get once you graduate this 1 month program. And we're going to talk about manual testing, also known as functional testing. That's what you will be able to do after this 1 month program and to expect between 65 to 100K. Most of it going to be 70 to 100K, but as I said, because sometimes you have exceptions, some will get 65K. You need to be looking to get a job within 2 to 4 months because that's what going to take to get the job. What you don't need any technical background, and you soon gonna witness why, because I'm gonna show you what we actually do at work. Definitely don't need any technical background for that. Well, of course, you need to know how to use your laptop, YouTube, Google, your phone. Obviously, you need to be a user, okay? Just as a user of your phone, of your email, of your laptop. That's something that you need to know. And if you don't know, it's okay. You can always watch a YouTube tutorial and become a good user. You don't need to buy any specialized equipment. As long as you can watch the lesson and hear the lesson, you're good, right? Because whenever you're going to get the job, the company's going to send you the equipment. So if they're going to need you to work on a MacBook Pro or Windows machine, just they're going to send you those devices. If you will need to test an Android device or iOS device or iPad or another device, they usually going to send it to your address. So let's talk about the salaries. And guys, again, a reminder, just focus on the lesson. If you're going to have questions in the end, I will answer all of your questions, okay? But most of those questions are going to be answered very soon. I promise you that. So according to Glassdoor.com, which is basically the best website to see average salaries for different professions in different cities, different states, you will see that the average salary for software QA engineer in the United States is around, right now it's around $99,000. We learn a few things out of that. First of all, that the salaries are growing, because just 7 months, 8 months ago, it was around $68,000, $70,000. And during that time, our graduates were making 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, and 100K, because our graduates didn't really care about the average. We prepare you much better than the average. You sound much more confident than the average. Your resume and LinkedIn looks better than the average. We don't want you to be average. That's why we prepare you much better in order to impress the hiring manager and to get those jobs. But again, the average is growing. Our graduates are getting more and more and better salaries. It also shows a very hot market and a huge demand for software QA engineers. I see now 2, even 3 times more jobs than ever before. I remember times when it was like good to see 500 jobs, 800 jobs. Now I see 2,000, 3,000, even more positions in the big cities across United States. And nowadays you can work remotely, so it doesn't really matter if you don't have enough positions in your area, in your city. You can always get a job in other cities, in other states, and work remotely. Now, the second thing that we learn from that number is that the average software QA engineer in the United States doesn't know any automation, doesn't know any programming. How we understand that? Well, basically, if you're going to ask anyone working in automation or development or anything related to coding or automation, you will find out that they will not even talk to anyone for less than 110 or 115K. That's why all of those jobs that offer 70, 80, 90, 100K, let's say not all of those jobs, but most of those jobs will get to manual QA like you, right? I just wanted you to understand that. And in the job description of many jobs, probably 80% of the quality assurance jobs, you will see more knowledge or more tools that they're asking in the job description. For example, they're going to ask for, I don't know, 3 years or 5 years of experience, or automation, Java, Python, Selenium, Appium. It's something that we see a lot across probably 80% of the positions, just because someone copy pasted it from one to another. But eventually, we see that out of those 80% that ask for more, probably 65% of those eventually hire manual QA like you without any automation. And many times we see that whatever the companies are asking in the job description is not what they actually need. And even if they're going to need it, they will not find the right person that's going to do it for less than 100K, 110K, 115K. That's why we see, and we have graduates getting jobs every day now. So we definitely see the situation, and we see every day that the job description is not 100% accurate, and you can get many and many of those jobs. I just wanted to clarify that. I think it's very important to better understand the industry. Now let's talk about the benefits of QA jobs. First of all, it's very easy to learn. You don't need any programming skills, any programming languages. The compensation is great, 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour is definitely something very nice, especially after just 1 month program. Many QA jobs out there, you will be able to see those on dice.com, on Indeed, Glassdoor.com, LinkedIn jobs. You will be able to see a lot of positions. Just search for software QA engineer or QA analyst, and you will see a lot of jobs in around the big cities for sure. I will show you the map of where our graduates are currently working, and I will explain you more about the cities, the states, the salaries in more details. You can work remotely, guys. Since March 2020, most QA jobs, most IT jobs are remote. Most of our graduates are getting remote jobs, and that's great because they can spend more time with the family, spend less time in the traffic, and it's definitely something that we really love. It allows you to spend more time with your loved ones. Definitely great opportunity now to work remotely, and you have more positions than ever before because nowadays you don't need to go to the office. In many cases you can work from your house. You don't need any computer science degree, as we mentioned before. Even if some companies going to ask for a computer science degree, once you show them a real on-hand experience that you actually going to get after the program, once you're going to join the internship, you will get on-hand real experience. That is what companies want. They usually want or to see computer science degree or to see on-hand experience. So you're definitely going to have the best uh, the best option, which is real on-hand experience, because nowadays nobody really wants to hire anyone without any experience. That's why we will make sure that after this program you're definitely going to have some experience that you will be able to show. QA considered one of the happiest jobs in the United States according to Forbes. You can Google it. Forbes QA happiest job. And that's actually something that brought me into this industry, because when I saw that article, I became very curious about this profession, about this job. And definitely, I'm very happy choosing it. So it's a shortcut into the IT world, into the tech world, and you will have a lot of opportunities for career growth. And usually you're going to have three options. One is just to stay and do manual testing for many, many years, making 70 to 100K. And some people actually choose that and they're happy. And it's definitely something that some people are doing. But in case that you want to grow, in case that you want to make more than 100K, in this case, you have two options. One is to become more technical, actually to learn programming basics of Python, for example, to learn automation using Selenium WebDriver, for example, learning algorithms. Once you learn that, it usually takes 4 months, but it's not going to be simple. It's going to be complicated, sophisticated. It will require a lot of focus, motivation, and dedication. And 80% will have challenges doing it or learning it, because we're very transparent. We are telling you how things are in the real world. Okay, so I want you to understand that yes, in automation, you will be able to make 110 to 170K. But unfortunately, it's not for everyone. Manual QA, on the other hand, is for everyone. It's simple, it's straightforward. Anyone can do it. Anyone can get 70 to 100K. Automation is not for everyone. 80% will have challenges learning it or doing it. That's why I recommend to stay away from automation, like from fire, until you get your first QA job in manual QA, making 70 to 100K. After you're going to get your first QA job, of course, I will recommend to explore automation, to give it a chance, to try your best. We're definitely going to have a program that's going to teach you automation once you decide to join it, but you should do it only after you get your first manual QA job. Otherwise, you will just lose the focus and will not get not manual, not automation, and just waste your time and effort. That's why please just follow the instructions and you will see the results, and will not waste time or effort. Now, in case that you are not technical, in case that you will not like coding, in case that you would not like to write code, In this case, you also have opportunities for growth because you can become and go to leadership. You can become a QA lead or a QA manager. It's something that will require usually more meetings, more responsibilities, but with more responsibilities, you usually get more compensation. So you usually in leadership, you also can make between 100 to 180K, definitely doing leadership. So let's talk about the job titles you can apply for. Just as example, when I worked at Apple and Intel and many other companies, I had different titles. By the way, guys, feel free to go to LinkedIn, see more about my experience and my knowledge. Soon I will show you more about myself. I have more than 8 years of experience as software QA engineer, and I can tell you that you have many different titles for that job. For example, when I worked at Apple, my title was software QA engineer of second degree. When I worked at Intel, it was test engineer. When I worked at Uyala, it was senior functional tester. When I worked at QVC, it was QA tester. At Toyota San, it was software QA engineer. So different companies had different titles, but I was doing exactly the same kind of job, doing manual testing, doing functional testing, black box testing. That's different names of same type of manual testing jobs. Okay, so it doesn't matter how they're gonna call it. In most cases, you're gonna be doing exactly the same job like all of our graduates that having different titles but doing same kind of job. You will be able to apply for jobs QA engineer, software test engineer, software QA engineer, QA analyst, QA tester, manual tester, functional tester, UI tester, test analyst, QE, and many other titles that are going to talk about same type of job. Now, let me tell you more about the QA course by Careerist. You will get, first of all, intensive practical training from industry experts. When I say intensive practical training, it means you're going to have a Zoom lessons where you will be able to watch the lesson, use the chat to ask your questions, and of course, to get the answers. Sometimes the answer is going to be during the lesson, sometimes at the end of the lesson, really depends on the subject and the topic. You will get internship and references that will improve your resume because nowadays, as I mentioned before, you definitely need to show some experience because companies don't want to hire people having zero experience, having no experience. That's why we'll make sure that you will have experience working in quality assurance, on-hand experience. You will practice what you learned, and you will become much more confident during the job and, of course, during the interviews. Thanks to that. The internship you will be able to join at the end of the course, and it will be at least for 2 weeks, at least for 2 hours per day. But you are welcome to be more than 2 hours and to be more than 2 weeks. You actually can be part of the internship until you get the job. So every month of your job search, your experience will grow. You also gonna get assistance with applying for jobs because we want you to get more calls, more interviews, more job offers. We are going to help you to apply for jobs for you as well. Usually we recommend to combine both, apply yourself and use the job application services where we apply for jobs for you. More jobs you apply, more calls you get, more interviews, more job offers. That's how it works. And once you're going to just follow the instructions, you will witness that. The lesson is going to be convenient online sessions, but if you will not be able to watch them live like now, you can always watch the video recording anytime that works best for you and going to be sent to your email after each lesson. You're gonna get also one-on-one sessions with mentors that gonna work with you one-on-one to make sure that you're following the instructions, to make sure that you are prepared, to make sure that you sound confident, which is very important. Once we make sure that, the mentor will help you with the resume, with the LinkedIn, with the instructions, and all you guys need. You will work with the mentor at the end of the course once you graduate the program and join the internship. So at the end of the internship, you will start working with your mentor. You will have your own mentor that will work with you one-on-one. So let me introduce you our instructors. We have Patrick Siebenthal. He's a QA engineer at Google, worked at Facebook. Actually, I don't see it here, but he worked at Intel as well. So he basically been around uh, different huge, amazing companies and the best companies in the Silicon Valley, if you ask me. We worked together actually at Intel, and he has more than 6 years of experience in quality assurance. We also have Lana Levinson. She's a senior software developer in test with over 8 years of experience in quality assurance. We have Ignacio Britos, QA engineer, QA manager with over 14 years of experience in quality assurance, working at Intel, Eventbrite, many other Silicon Valley companies. We have Hazran Padlan, QA lead with over 12 years of experience working at Google, AT&T, Bank of America. We have Olga Chabanova, software QA engineer with a lot of experience at different Silicon Valley companies like Lodestone. By the way, guys, please feel free to go to LinkedIn and see more about our experience and our background. We also have Nick Haradze, senior QA engineer with over 6 years of experience working at various Silicon Valley companies. We have Alex Lastovich with over 7 years of experience in QA, QA manager, and working at United Power and many other companies. Vitaly Yerokhin, QA automation engineer with over 7 years of experience in IT. We have Sofia Tsapchuk with over 8 years of experience in quality assurance, working at Ring Central and many other companies. Now you have me, Max Lubachansky, with over 8 years of experience in QA, working at Apple, Intel, and many other companies. Maria Carissa, QA professional with over 14 years of experience working in various companies. We have, and you're going to meet today, Yuri Sokolov with over 8 years of experience in QA. He's a QA lead at Google in Mountain View, California. And you're going to meet him very soon because he's going to teach the second part of the lesson. At the end of his lesson, I will join to answer all of your questions. Now, our graduates work for some of the world's most innovative companies like Uber, Apple, Facebook, Intel, Samsung, Groupon, AT&T, CBS, Chase, Visa, Verizon, Walt Disney, Snapchat, Dell, Nike, and many, many, many more. Many companies that you never heard of, and many companies that all of you know. We have graduates working already in more than 400 companies, and we are very super proud of it. So when we just started, people told us, you know what? It's probably the Silicon Valley only or New York. No, guys, it's everywhere. We have graduates working already in 37 states now. Just maybe 2 months ago, it was 30 states. Now it's already 37 states. And you will be able to get jobs at those companies and other companies. Doesn't matter if it's a big company or a small company, as long as they go pay you 70 to 100K, $35 to $50 per hour, you're good. Any company that has a mobile application like weather or dating or navigation, or any mobile application that you ever used, guys, or any website like google.com or careerist.com, any website, any mobile application is designed by someone, then it's created by the developer, and eventually it goes to us QA people to make sure that it looks, works, and feels good, to make sure that it's according to the requirements, to make sure that it's according to the specs, to make sure that it's according to what was planned. Once we see a mismatch between actual and expected behavior, basically, whenever we see a problem, an issue, a bug, that's how we call it, we report it. So our job is not to fix problems. Our job is to report problems. Once we see a problem, we send it to developer. Developer fixes the problem, sends back to us, and we verify that this problem was fixed on the new version. Okay, that's our job, to report issues and to verify that those issues were fixed. So this is the map that we are very proud of. Our graduates work already in 37 states. What I want you to understand on that map is that anywhere here, anywhere in the US, you can make 70 to 80K, 35 to 40 per hour. But in the big cities that I'm going to mention now, you can make even 50 per hour, even 100K per year. For example, in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Seattle, San Jose, San Francisco, LA, you definitely can make up to 100K, up to 50 per hour. Boston, Massachusetts, or San Diego, you can make up to 90K, up to 45 per hour. Now, you always have exceptions. For example, most of the graduates in Florida making 70 to 80K, but we have graduates making 90K, 100K, 110K in Florida as well. Recently, we had Cincinnati, someone got 115K, although most people gonna make their 70 to 80K. And it happens a lot. You have exceptions always happening, but the overall is 70 to 80K everywhere. And the big cities that I mentioned before, it could be up to 50 per hour, up to 100K. And of course, you can work remotely now. So we have graduates from Chicago working in California, from California working in New York, from New York working in Miami, from Miami working in Texas, from Texas working in Chicago, okay? And vice versa. So guys, let's actually talk about what we actually do at work, because I know that some of you are still a little bit confused and not sure why we are being paid 70 to 100K and why we don't need any coding. So let me share my screen with you and let me show you exactly what we do, because I want you to understand that. So guys, let me show you a website. Okay, this is an e-commerce website. I'm sure that you saw this kind of websites before, where can you choose clothes, when you can add them to your cart, when you can remove them from the cart, when you can highlight them, when you can choose, make them favorite, you can see the prices, you can add them to your cart. Okay, I'm sure that you saw this kind of websites before. That's what we call web testing whenever we test a website. So first thing first, we test that the website loads, that the website works. So for example, we clicked refresh the page, it shows the website. That's great. Next thing we want to do is to test the functionality of the buttons, for example, that it takes you to the right links, to the appropriate pages, that it's not broken. I'm sure that before you saw issues whenever you used your phone or went to a website, something didn't work, something was crashing, something was weird, strange, not working, looking bad, misaligned, truncated, overlapped, grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes. I'm sure that you saw that before. Now, let's start with the functionality. You see the Shop Now button? Once I click it, nothing happens. You know why? Because it's a bug. It's an issue. It doesn't take me nowhere. I was expecting to get to the shopping page, but not. It's not letting me there. So that's definitely a problem that we want to report. Okay. That's the most important problems, the functional problems, because we want to make sure that the website, the application, is serves the main reason it was main purpose it was created. Okay, here it definitely not. That we definitely want to report that kind of problem. Now let's talk about other kind of issues, because functional is links that are not working, website that is not loading, application that is crashing. If you have a video that is not playing, you know, that's the functionality that we test. After we test the functionality, we test how things look. We call it UI testing. Stands for user interface, or GUI testing, graphic user interface. So for example, this girl model on the right, you see her face is being cut off, being truncated, something that looks weird, looks strange. Of course, we can compare to the design document. Usually we get a PDF that shows us exactly how the application, how the website should look like. And we can always compare and double check. But let's assume that we don't have access to the design document and we just base it on our site, right? How we see it. And definitely that looks weird. That's look strange. And we want to at least report it, and then eventually the product manager or the developer, the designer, they will decide if it's a problem or it's not. It definitely looks like a problem to me. So we can call it the face of the model is being cut off or truncated, or we can call it that this panel of shop tools is overlapping the image of the model. Okay, so it really depends how you want to name it. Another example of UI issue, it's whenever something is misaligned, like this one. You see the checkboxes? They don't appear on the same line. That's a problem. Okay, it looks weird, looks strange, looks chaotic. We definitely want things to be consistent and aligned. Another example of that you will see here on those fields. You see, this is not aligned to this. This is not aligned to this. This is not aligned to this. It looks weird, looks strange. Definitely a problem. I'm sure that you saw before when a text overlaps a button, or a text overlaps a text, or a button overlaps a button, or vice versa. That's definitely something that we see a lot at work. And I will give you another example. You see this model on the right? When I hover the mouse over him, you will see that he will move to the left and will hide the letter N in the word fashion. So here I go. I just bring it here. Boom. You see, it moved to the left and hides the N letter in the word fashion. We call it overlapping. Okay, that's whenever an element hides another element. Another example of an issue, it's whenever something is inconsistent. So you see those models here. Once I move the mouse over them, it keeps the same picture, just changes this color, and brings you those buttons, right? Now it happens here, it happens here. But guess what? When we go to the next one, over here, it's not. You see the image changed. It's not the same image, it changes the image, and it's definitely inconsistent behavior that you definitely want to report. I will actually give you an example of how we write those bug reports, guys. So for example, let's see those models of the car. So let's assume that the requirement tells us that it's supposed to be 2000 19 cars, 2019 Yaris, 2019 86, also known as FRS, and 2019 Corolla hatchback. But we see that Toyota Corolla hatchback shows 2020. So that's a problem. That's a mismatch between actual and expected behavior. Okay, just as an example. So in this case, if we know that it's supposed to be 2019, but it shows 2020, we just go to report it. How we do it? First of all, we want to create a screenshot to make life easier for developers. So on MacBook, we're going to click Command Shift 4. It will allow us to choose the area that we want to highlight, to select over here. You see, once I select it, boom, it will save the picture to your desktop. If you have a Windows, you still can do it, just clicking the start menu, search for snipping tool, something that you will be able to learn in 5 minutes. If you cannot now, don't worry. You can watch a YouTube video how to do that. If not, we can show you during our lessons. Very simple, very straightforward. Why we do that? To make life easier for developers to see the problems faster. So once we created the screenshot, or we can make video recording just using the other device, the other phone, just recording the problem that you see on the screen, we basically go to report it. How we do it? We go to the most popular bug tracking system in the world that all of you are going to have access to once you're going to join the program, called Jira. So all you need to know here is just this button called Create. We click that button and we can fill out the bug report. We choose the project name, which is bug report. The project name, actually, it's going to be a name of the project you're going to be working on. So in our case, we're going to call it demo. And then you choose the issue type, which is bug report. That's what we do. We write bug reports. And you write the summary, which is the title, which should be short and informative. It should show what and where is the problem. To save time, I already wrote it down here. So let's just repeat it one more time. Okay, the 2020 Corolla hatchback should be 2019, right? Right. So we write homepage 2020 Corolla hatchback should be 2019. Then we have description with steps to reproduce actual and expected behavior. Step 1, go to the website, which this is the link, right? This is the link. Just copy it and you paste it over here. Go to the website to observe 2020 Corolla hatchback, actual 2020 Corolla, expected 2019 Corolla. Okay, guys, you don't need a PhD in English literature to be able to write that, I'm pretty sure. Then we're going to choose the priority, how important the problem to the company. So let's call it high or highest, because it definitely affects millions of customers and we care about the customers. We want them to have the correct information on the website. You will learn the priorities, what is low, what is lowest, what is medium, what is high, what is highest. After the internship, after the course, you're definitely going to know what is important, what is not. And also, when you join the company, different companies have different approach about something that UI issues are important, something that they are not important. So really depends on the culture of the company. You will learn during the first weeks at work what is important, what is less important, and you will know how to judge it based on that. Environment and where it was reproducible. Was it on MacBook? Was it on Windows? Was it on Android device? Was it on iPhone? Which browser it was? Which build it was, if it was a mobile app? Okay, which macOS or Windows or Android or iOS? That's what we write. Then we have attachment. Basically, by the way, you don't need to put all of it. It's just an example of different environments that you might be testing. Attachments is for screenshots or video recordings, just like we did now. We just click it and it loads it, uploads it to the bug report. And finally, assignee, who gonna take care of the problem. Let's just choose my name. Whenever you're gonna be working with 1, 2, or 3 different developers, you will know who's doing what. For example, one is doing Android, one is doing iOS, one is doing web, okay, someone is doing mobile. So you will know who to address that. So project name, issue type, which is bug report, title, which should be short and informative, should show everyone what and where is the problem, description, with steps to reproduce, actual and expected behavior, priority, environment, attachments, and assignee. Then we just click the create button and boom, we just created our first bug report. That's how it looks. Title, description, environment, assignee, reporter. If we scroll down, we're going to see the attachment that we just added. Remember the image that I used the Command Shift 4 on MacBook or snipping tool on Windows? That's how we create those. Okay, awesome. So guys, was that complicated? Do you think you need 4 months or 4 years to do it? Do you need computer science degree? No. Do you think you need technical skills for that? I don't think so. Okay, that's what we do in manual testing. So the problem is not doing the job. Definitely, it's not the problem. The problem is getting the job, not wasting your time, not wasting your effort. And that's why we are here for, to help you get this job as soon as possible with maximum possible rate. Just wanted to show you some of the website that I mentioned, glassdoor.com, with the average salary for software QA engineer. Wanted to show you that there's thousands of positions for software QA engineer or QA analyst. um, uh, Basically, um, you can search it like that as well. You will see even more positions for different titles. You can search for different cities. It could be not only San Francisco, it could be New York, Chicago, Seattle, Atlanta, any big city that you want. You will find a lot of positions there. Okay, and you can basically look for both titles, as I mentioned. We don't have much time now to do it, so you can always do it after the lesson or tomorrow just to see your area. And again, it doesn't matter because you will be able to get those jobs across the country, across the United States, in different cities. Wanted to show you also an article about 9 reasons manual testing will always be in demand. Highly recommended to read. You can Google it and you will definitely find it. And just to mention that Forbes named QA one of the happiest jobs in the United States. So now, guys, let me get back to our presentation and let me continue from where we stopped. All right, so let's talk about the course. It's going to be 4 weeks program. From 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, Sunday to Thursday. If you cannot watch it live, you can always watch the video recordings that will be sent to you after each lesson. You're also gonna get the internship that we mentioned before. That's gonna be minimum 2 weeks, and you're welcome to be part of the internship until you get the job. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4 months during your job search. You don't need to be there every day, all the day. Just as long as you're part of it, you're going to be fine. Also, you're going to get one-on-one mentorship, the job application that we mentioned before, and much, much more. Basically, during the job application, we're going to apply for jobs for you. Going to send resumes for companies, to companies for you to get you more calls, more interviews. We just noticed that many people are sometimes lazy or very busy. That's why we are trying to apply for even more jobs, even more positions whenever you don't have time for that. And we see amazing results because our graduates getting jobs every day because we combine everything, the mentorship, the material that you learn, the job application services, the mentorship, the guidelines, the instructions, the graduate meetings. Now, don't forget the income share agreement and the upfront payment. gonna be due by noon tomorrow Pacific time. So you still have time to decide, to think, to ask advisors at careerist.com, to talk to them and choose the option that works best for you. I'm gonna share those links very soon. Also, I'm gonna share with you a link to the survey at the end of the lesson to hear your feedback. We always try to become better and to improve, and your feedback would be highly appreciated. It will not take you more than 1 minute. Now, I see that most of you already got the contract and click the link. Thank you for your trust. Now, I'm gonna actually give the lesson to Yuri, our instructor for today, our teacher that is currently working at Google, and he will take it from there. In case you're going to have questions for the lesson, you can always ask Yuri about it. But if you're going to have questions about the course, I will answer it at the end of Yuri's part. All right, guys? So thank you very much. Yuri, the class
Thank
is
you
all
very
yours.
much, Max. How's everyone doing today? So I see so many people here, and I'm really excited because I see a lot of interest in the career of quality assurance engineering. So I know that some of you were asking questions like, "Is this class real?" It's like, this class looks like a recording. So this class is not a recording, and I can attest to that. So feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer those.
Yes, guys, we are live.
Right. There you
Right.
go. There you go. Yes, because I saw some people commenting like, well, this is recording. This is not a recording. This is live. At same way that all our lessons being performed, they're all live. All right, guys. So let me introduce myself. My name is Yuri Sokolov, and I've been working in quality assurance for quite some time now, for more than 8 years. And I joined this. I joined this career uh, more than 8 years ago because some of my friends were into this business before. So my background is not in computer science. My background is not into computer science or technical industry or any other industry. I had a major in art. So I had an art major, and after uh, moving to the United States, meeting my friends that were working as the quality assurance engineers, I was impressed like how easy it was to get into the tech by learning QA. Okay, and then basically I went into similar boot camp, similar training, and I got my first contract working at Google and then a few other startups. So we're working at big tech startups, testing mobile applications, testing websites, hardware, software, you name it. I do not have computer science degree. I do not have a coding background, because a lot of you are asking questions like, do I need to know how to code? Do I need to know automation to get a job in Bank of America, as someone asked, right? No, you don't, because automation and manual QA are two separate jobs. And today we will talk about it. I'll explain everything, because I've been working as a manual QA engineer for probably more than 7 years. And I've been working as an automation QA engineer for more than 2 years. So feel free to ask any questions. I'll explain you the difference. I'll explain you how things work, and we will definitely have a very pleasant conversation. All right, so let's start. Let's start with the basics. Today's lesson number 1. So before we get into the IT, before we get into the quality assurance, let's talk about what is quality assurance. Let's for all of you, okay guys, please focus on the lesson with all the questions. Please try to keep them as close to the subject as possible. I'll be happy to answer all of them, but we have a lot of people in the chat, so please try to keep your questions close to the subject of our discussion. All right, so what is quality assurance? Imagine, let's move away from software development. Let's go to something less techy, right? Let's go into the furniture production. Let's imagine we talk about the furniture production, we talk about the furniture factory. The way that the furniture is made, right? The process goes like this. Someone designs a chair. So engineers will come up with the blueprint, right? Then the blueprint goes into the prototype development. So developers or the engineers, whatever you call them in the factory, they will create a prototype, the physical product that needs to be tested before it can go into the mass production. So after the prototype is created, someone needs to test it, right? So the quality assurance testers or QA engineers, whatever you call them, right? They will come up with a plan to test this chair. They'll sit on the chair, they'll slam the chair against the wall, they will measure the, how much weight this chair can handle. They will track how durable this chair is. Eventually, they will come up with decision, and decision will say something like this: we tested this product, we tested this chair, right? And we say that this chair satisfies our criteria. So this chair can be then mass produced and delivered to our clients, to our customers. After quality assurance department signs off on the product, in our case, it's the chair, right? The chair goes into the mass production. And after the chair is mass produced, there still be a process of maintaining and monitoring the quality of the product. Maybe some edge cases will be tested by our customers. Maybe we'll have a really heavy customers. Maybe we'll have a really tiny customers. All of them will provide the feedback to our factory, to our company, to make sure that everything is being accounted for from our end. Now let's go back into the software industry. Some people may think that the software development industry is much different from anything else. It's not. It's the same thing. Let's say we need to develop a new application or a new web page. Someone will come up with a blueprint. Let's call it the blueprint for now. So it's going to be a design document for what we are trying to develop, what we are trying to achieve, right? And then this blueprint, those requirements will be transferred to our engineers, to the software developers. Software developers will be those who will be responsible for creating the prototype or creating the feature, whatever we try to call it. They will be those who will be coding it. And then they need people like us, quality assurance engineers, quality assurance testers. There are, as Max mentioned before, there are many ways of how you can call our career, how you can call our profession. But essentially, we are responsible for doing absolutely the same thing. We are testing the product that software engineers created. Okay? So software engineers created some form of a software, right? The web page, the application, service, whatever you call it, right? And there is a need for people who will be doing the testing pretty much full time. It's a full-time job to test. A lot of people ask, like, why software developers do not test their own software? Why there is a need for QA engineers or testers to do the job of verifying that software developers did their work right, because software developers are hired to develop. They are not hired to test. And that's the main difference. Quality assurance engineers exist to test the work of any other member of development team or engineering team, because we are hired specifically to test the product. Developers are hired specifically to develop. They are not hired to test. Of course, they do basic checks. Of course, when they develop, they do some basic checks. However, they don't really go that deep. Guys, does that make sense? What I'm explaining to you. Does that make sense? Yes. Good. Awesome. So we can continue. All right. So what software quality assurance does? So what SQA is? Quality assurance is an umbrella term. It's an umbrella term that covers a lot of things. It's called SQA, software quality assurance. Sometimes it's called QA, quality assurance. Same thing, doesn't matter. SQA is the process of monitoring the software engineering procedures and methods to ensure quality. That's it. QA processes can be implemented in absolutely any development process. Shoe factory, furniture factory, any other development, tire development, car manufacturing, every development process, whatever you build, regardless what you build, software, hardware, or electronics, they have their own quality assurance process. It's built very much similar to any other industry. But of course, we will be discussing software today. So few key points, very important points. It is not possible to create software without having issues. So when we create software, when developers create software, right? The way the software is created is by changing code. For us, we don't really care. We don't really talk about code right now. But the way the software is actually created is there are like thousands and thousands and thousands of lines of code, and they're being changed every single moment. So whatever the application you use at your phone, the Facebook, Snapchat, WhatsApp, whatever it is, right? At any given point of time, there's a developer that's changing the code for improvement, for fixing problems. It's a constant change. Due to the constant change, there's always going to be issues in the code. The issues in the code will basically represent themselves into the form of problems, bugs. A button won't work. An image won't show. The music won't play. The video won't play. The file won't load. It will manifest itself in so many ways. I'm sure you've seen all of those just by using the product, just by using the sites and websites and applications. You try to go to the website and boom, you have a page 404 not found. The website is broken, or something is not right with your profile, or image doesn't load. All of this manifests what we call a bug. A bug is a term, it's a slang term for an issue, for a problem, meaning that something doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. It is impossible to have a software at any given point of time without issues. Always we will have problems. Always we will have issues with the software. That's why the job of quality assurance engineer will always be there. And I'm not even talking about automation. I will explain everything about automation. So if you have questions about automation, please let me know in the chat room. I'll explain you everything about how automation works. But for now, we'll talk about the manual QA. So the process of manual QA or QA in general is to minimize the number of problems, the number of issues to an acceptable level. So whenever you see a Facebook or Google or I don't know, Amazon release the new version of a software, they know that this version has issues. They know this version has problems, but they are satisfied with the quality, with amount of issues, with assurance that this version does not have any critical problems, so that they will release it to the customers. So what QA engineers do, QA engineers overview and participate in the entire software development process, which includes requirement definition, software design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. We'll talk about the process of software development more in our lesson number 3 and 4. So please stay tuned. So let's talk about the testing. The testing part is just, so the testing is just a phase of quality assurance. Testing, and let's focus on the manual testing. Testing is when I will have a software in front of me. Let's make it simple. Please raise hands who use Instagram. Does anyone here use Instagram? Instagram, right? It's a very, do you think it's a simple software? It's fairly simple, right? Right. Even if you don't use the Instagram, you know it's what it does. It's a simple software. What it does is it stores images, it shares images, and it has a social interaction elements, right? The social interaction elements is when you can like a photo or like an image, you can share an image, you can comment on the image. That's it. It's a fairly simple software. So what manual QA engineers do? Manual QA engineers act as an end users. What we do is we act as an end users, but we get access to the software, which is an early stage. It's not yet to be released to the users until we say it's good to go. So let's say an Instagram engineer decides to add a new feature, right? To add a new functionality, like, I don't know, being able to comment on the photos, right? So being able to, for users to being able to comment on the photos, because every time they develop something, it usually delivered in chunks, in pieces. So designers created this program, right? Designers created this functionality. They designed it. Then the developers developed the prototype. They developed this feature to be actually usable before it will be released to the billions of the users, right? To millions of the users, whatever, 100 millions of the users. Someone needs to play with it. Someone needs to act as an end user and verify that it works as expected. Of course, we have a documentation to basically compare the software we're testing to what is expected. For example, if I click this button, right, what should I expect? It all should be documented. That's why we have documentation. And manual QA engineers, we use documentation to basically rely on something to make sure and verify if something working as expected or not. Okay? Let me look if I have any questions. All right, guys, we don't have any bots in our chat room. We have only people. This is not Facebook. All right, so let's continue with our lesson. That's why the manual QA engineers are important, because what we do, we analyze physically as a human beings, personally, if something is working the way it's supposed to or not. So we rely on our own intuition, on our own ability to test things, of course, on our experience, because the human being is a person who can understand the requirements, analyze the requirements, and provide the testing efforts and the solution to what we think is right or wrong. If it works as we expect, or it does not work the way we expect it to work. Okay, so testing is just a process, it's just a part of quality assurance. Quality assurance is kind of like a preventative. Again, it's a huge umbrella term, but software testers, we deal with correctness, completeness, and quality of the software. A software testing investigation gives stakeholders an important information about the quality of the software and service under test. So we provide an objective, independent view of the software, which allows the business to appreciate and understand the risks of implementing the new or changed software. Again, what is the difference between QA and testing? QA, it's an umbrella term. It's preventative. It's a process that involves every stage of development or production, right? Testing is just a part of it. Testing is where we physically test the product, the software, the web page, and application against the requirements. Guys, do you have any questions about this, or so far so good? I should continue. All right, all good. Cool. We have a lot to cover today, so please stay focused. The question is, do most companies have similar protocols for testing? Technically, yes, they're very similar. All right, so let's talk about the manual testing. And what is the difference? Because there seems to be confusion between manual testing, automation. What's the difference? Should we learn manual? Should we learn automation? Should we not learn both? Should we learn both? What's going on, right? Manual testing, you can read this slide, right? You can read this slide, but I will basically summarize this for you in one short sentence. Manual testing is performed by a person, myself. If I have a task case which says, click this button, go to Instagram and verify that I can upload a photo, or verify I can apply a filter to my photo, right? Manual testing is when me physically going to the Instagram, like taking my device, like, see, there you go, it's my test device. That's what you will be working with as a manual QA engineer. You will be given a test device, for example, if you work for, let's say, Instagram, and your task would be to verify that you can go in, take a photo, right, for your Instagram profile, apply a filter, and upload it. That would be your test case. The question is, are we going to learn about test cases? Of course. That's the main point. Of course, we'll learn about test cases. I will slowly bring you into this topic shortly. Anyway, so manual testing means that I'm a person. I'm not a machine. I'm not a code. I'm not a framework. And I have to go and manually test this test case. So far, so good. Does it make sense about the manual testing? Yes. So manual testing is performed by a human being, by a person. Now, Why do we need manual testing? There again, I read your comments in the chat room. I saw your concerns about why do we need manual testing. It seems like every company needs automation engineers. I will tell you right away that whatever your expectations about the market, I would assume they are not correct, because a lot of the companies, along with QA engineers, do not understand how automation works and how manual QA works. So I will try to explain as simply as I can the difference between manual and automation, because I work in automation, right? And I used to work for many years in manual. So I know the difference, I know how they interact. Automation test, so please listen carefully, it's very important. So automation testing, what automation testing does, it takes manual QA engineers' efforts and transfers it into the code, repetitive code, so that the code can be run separately automatically. For example, let's say we have a test case. The test case is simple. Let's go to, let's go back to Instagram. Today's the Instagram example. So you go to the Instagram, you log in, you take a photo and you upload it to your Instagram profile, right? There are a few ways you can test it. One way, it's manual way, when you have a person to basically log in, to take a photo and to upload it, and to see if it's uploaded, the test passed. Fair enough, very straightforward. Another way how you can check it is through automation. It means that you need someone to automate the steps of this manual test case, right? To be run automatically. So my question to you, how long does it take for a person, for myself, to test this test case, right? To log in, to upload the photo, and to verify that it's uploaded for Instagram. Please respond. Let's make this class interactive. What do you think? 2 minutes. I would say it's less. It's less than a minute. It takes like literally less than a minute. Right? It's log in. Say it takes seconds. Absolutely. It takes seconds. Okay, good. Yeah, fine. 30 seconds. Perfect. In order to automate this test case, in order to hire a person that will know how to automate this test case, it will take probably about 2 days of work to just automate it. And then when you run it in automation, it will take probably longer than a minute. It will take longer than I would say, probably will take more than 2 minutes. In fact, you won't even be able to automate it that well, because you're not going to be able to take a photo, right? Because it's all automated. You don't really have a device, so you'll have to have a photo, and then you'll have to attach it to the test case. It will be executed with minutes. So knowing that, what do you think is more efficient way to test something? What do you think? It's my question to you. Manual, right? We don't have to hire a specific person that knows how to develop automated scripts. We're not going to pay them $100 an hour, whatever. We can have, any person that has an access to the cell phone and has 30 seconds of their time and knows what they're doing to test this and produce the result. That's the main difference between manual and automation. Automation, of course, it's an approach, and it's a really, really nice approach, and it works great in some cases, but in most cases it doesn't. Okay, so some of you said that, a lot of the companies, they only ask for automation for QA engineers. QA engineering has very little to do with automation. Automation is just knowing how to automate QA procedures or QA test cases, we can say it that way. It has very little to do with actual knowledge of testing. The only way you will know things about testing is by doing testing manually. Okay, so when do we absolutely need manual testing? Human intervention needs to be ongoing. Humans are the fastest machines, computers, whatever you like to call us. We're the fastest entities to analyze the requirements and test. It takes us seconds, minutes to perform, right? For the machines, for automation, it takes days. There's need for human judgment. Of course, human judgment is by far the best way of analyzing if something is right or wrong. Automated testing is too expensive or time consuming. Absolutely right. Manual testing is performed, and by manual testing, I would more talk about quality assurance involvement, right? Manual QA engineers are involved in the requirement analysis, test planning, test case creation, testing, bug reporting, bug fix verification, all of this procedure. So another thing that you need to understand, guys, one thing that's very, very important. We live in a time where competition is pretty fierce. Let's say when we talk about like 50 years ago or 60 years ago, we had like maybe 10 software development companies together, right? Apple, IBM, Cisco, Microsoft, whatever. There were like 10 major companies. The way they would go with their development, they would create a software, and then they would spend a year to come up with a new version. Why? Because they didn't have competition. They didn't have to battle their competitors. They didn't have to. They didn't have that rush. They had all the time. They had all the money. They would spend months on development. They would spend months on testing. They would spend months on troubleshooting and maintenance and so on. These days, we have more than 10 development companies. We have tens of thousands of development companies. Now it's all about competition. So what it means that the companies do not have months to spend on anything, on development, on testing. They're into pretty kind of like a fast-paced mode. It's all about the rush these days. What it means that QA engineers will not have a lot of time to test. And what we learned about automation, if you want to automate, you need a lot of time to automate. So for companies, if they have a 2 weeks release cycles, they release every 2 weeks, or they release every week, or they release every month, they don't have months to invest in the automation, because automation takes time. It takes 3 days to automate a test case. Then it takes another 3 days to troubleshoot it and to debug it, whatever. Manual QA engineer can come in, read the test case, execute it within 2 minutes. That's what the companies need. That's why manual QA and automation are two separate things. You cannot think of one is better than the other. No, they're both great, but they're doing their separate jobs. It's a separate thing. So I will not focus on this website a lot. You will feel free to read them. It's these slides are about the pros and cons of manual and automation testing. All of it is true, but at this point, it's not important. From my own experience, I can tell you that first, you learn manual QA. Manual QA is a foundation of all quality assurance techniques, right? And after you feel comfortable with manual QA, you look for the job in manual QA, you get a job on manual QA, and you work there for, I don't know, a few months, 6 months, whatever you like. Maybe you enjoy manual QA, just stay there. If you don't, if you want to grow, if you feel like you're ready for something better, move into something else. Go into automation, go into security if you're bored, right? But manual QA, what we call just QA, it's a foundation of all the knowledge, it's foundation of all the skills, all the techniques. Guys, do you have any questions, or we can continue? I see you're being quiet. Awesome. All right. So I can continue. Okay, so let's start with something we can actually learn. I'm sure at this time of the day, you're all excited to learn something, right? Okay, so first I'll read the slide and I'll explain. So there are more than 50 different subtypes of testing. This is important, guys. Let's focus on this subject. So there are more than 50 different subtypes of testing, but manual QA engineers focus primarily on few of them. Let me give you a bit of a history lesson. The way quality assurance industry was created, it wasn't like a planned thing, right? Let's go back to 50, 60 years ago when software development was a thing, right? When the first software development companies would start to emerge. Do you think they had processes or set up, finalized ways of how to create things? No, they haven't. They were doing a lot of things ad hoc. So that's why when software development industry would start producing some results, like first software, they quickly realized that they need to have people pretty much full time to dedicate their time to test whatever the software that was created by the developers. And they quickly realized that developers are not a great QA engineers. In fact, they're pretty horrible QA engineers. That's why pretty much nobody asks software developer to test their code unless they're desperate, unless the company has no money, and the only way they can survive if the developers will test their own code. In any other way, nobody will ask developer to test their own code because they will know it's going to be counterproductive and inefficient. Developers hate to test their code. They hate to do any form of testing to begin with. That's why the companies decided that they need a separate title, a separate person to test the software. So they would come up with a career of quality assurance engineer. Now, think about it. When you basically you're an engineer, let's say in 1960s, 1970s, and someone says, well, test this software. What do? You start coming up with ideas, you start coming up with techniques, your own experience and your own ways of how to test. So over the course of the, I would say like 20-30 years, from 60s to 80s to maybe like early 90s, each company like IBM, Microsoft, whatever the big companies we had, they had their own ways. They created their own testing types. They created their own testing approaches. What it means is there were no, we didn't have like a single, set of ways of how to test. Every company would test their own software based on the way they would develop. And it would go across like 12, 15 companies. That's why by the early 1990s, quality assurance industry ended up with having, I would say, more than 100 different subtypes, categories, classifications, approaches on how to test. And obviously, those were created by different people in different companies. I'm sure they were all similar, and I'm sure they would correlate or overlap in a lot of things. But since they were created by the different people, different companies, they were basically kind of like a separate entities. So there are more than 50, I would say more than 100 actually, different subtypes of testing. But modern manual key engineers, we talk about the modern manual key engineers, like myself, yourself, we only focus on few of them. All right, guys, so this is important. Pay attention. If you have questions, ask in the chat room. This is something that I say that everyone needs to memorize, pretty much. Why? Because it's important. It may be, you may hear it during the interview. So it's important. All right, so black box, white box, and gray box. Black box testing. All right, so black box, white box, and gray box, they are kind of like the foundation of testing types. Black box testing means, very simple, we test without using the code. So if I will give you a cell phone with a Facebook application on it, and I will ask you to test it, that would be a good example of a black box. You will be using simply a user interface, whatever the features of the application, touch screen, right? You will not have an access to a source code. That's the black box testing is. So black box testing means that we test something without access to the source code, right? The white box is a separate thing. It's the opposite thing. The white box testers, they design and test using just the source code. It's a separate career. It's a separate profession, and it's performed by very, very specific set of people. Gray box, it's a combination of both. If, let's say, you want to test something just by using interface, just by using the application, right? The front end, what we call, but you also have access to the source code. When you combine those two, it's called gray box. You will be using, in 90% or 99% of the cases, you'll be using black box testing. The white box and gray box, they're sort of like very specific. Guys, do you have any questions about black box, white box, gray box? It's a very high-level concept. You won't get too many details at this point. It's just a high-level concept. So manual QA engineers, they're mostly work in black box. White box is when you test white box, you're pretty much a developer. You have access to the code. You write your testing. You write your tests based on the code, not based on the the user interface, if that makes sense. But don't really focus on that. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so this one is interesting and it's important. Again, please pay attention. So I'll read the definition, yeah, and then I'll explain and I'll give you example. And if you don't understand, raise your hand. Let me know that you don't understand so I can explain it better, right? All right. So main testing types: functional and non-functional testing. So first, I'll start with the functional. So functional testing is testing what the software does based on its specifications. It verifies how compliant it is with specified functional requirements. So from all of this, you need to understand the one thing. When we say about the functional testing, we mean that we test what the software does. I know that the concept seems complicated to you. That's why I will give you an overview. So let me talk about non-functional, then I'll give you examples. Non-functional testing, it's a testing of a software application for its excuse me, for its non-functional requirements. For non-functional testing, instead of testing what the software does, the point of non-functional testing is to test how well the software functions rather than its specific behaviors. I know everyone confused. Everyone confused. Nobody knows what's going on. Yeah, I get it. Fine. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have a test case. A test case, it's just a simple set of steps that QA engineers do, and we have a verification point that we need to verify. So let me give you a test case. A test case is very simple. Verify the Google search functionality, right? So let's go. That everyone knows what the Google search is, right? I'm sure that everyone used the Google search at least once in their life, so I don't have to explain it to you. Yeah, cool. So let's start with that. Let's take a functional test case. And the test case is going to look like this, like verify, the title would be verify that the Google search returns results, right? Returns search results. So there would be steps. The steps would be go to the google.com, right? Whatever the URL is. And then the second step is type in the search query. Search query could be anything, right? How long does it take to boil an egg? How to cook a casserole, whatever, right? And then the step number 3, to click on the search icon. And then we have a verification point. Another way we call it expected result. It's like what we expect to see to make sure that this test case passes. So from functional point of view, we only care about what the application does. In our case, when we go into the Google, to the google.com, we type in the query, whatever you like, how to boil an egg. We click on the search icon, and then expected result would be for us to see a list of search results, right? That are relevant to our query. That's how we will attest, that's how we will verify that the software works. Does it make sense, guys? From functional point of view, our verification point would be to see the list of search results, like everyone here does when you search something. Because we test for functionality, we test for what the software does. Yeah, so far so good. Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's take same test case or similar test case. Let's say it's similar test case, and explain the non-functional testing, non-functional requirements. So we will go with the same procedure. We go to google.com. Yeah, we'll type in the query, how long, I don't know, how to boil an egg or how to cook something, right? We click on the search icon, but for our verification point, instead of having a very basic check for functionality, we will check how well the software does it. For example, how long does it take for Google to come up with a list of test results? Or how many test results, or I'm sorry, search results, how many search results does the Google come up with? Or how relevant search results are to our query. Does it make sense? So non-functional testing checks for different criteria. It does not check what the system does. It checks how well the software functions, how well does it perform. Obviously, again, what I'm trying to explain, it's a very, very generalized idea. We will talk more about the different subtypes because it's a complex thing and it definitely has a different subtype. So we'll talk about it more during the lesson number 2. But the idea is this, that the functional testing, which we will be doing as a manual QA engineers, we'll be doing functional testing mostly. Because for non-functional, as you imagine a person, it's pretty hard for them to measure certain non-functional things. For functional, it's straightforward. It either works or not. It either pass or fail. It either green or red. But for non-functional criteria, it may not be that easy to identify. Like, how fast does it work? Can you measure in your head? No, you cannot. You need specific software to measure it. Like, how many results? Yeah, again, you cannot measure it right away. You need some form of a measurement tool or something. So as you already understood, non-functional testing is performed usually by a very specific set of people. It doesn't mean that manual QA engineers don't do it. It just means that it's a very specific type of testing, and it's performed with the help of other things, of other tools. For now, we can focus on functional, but that's something you need to know. Guys, so far so good. I can continue with another slide. I know you're all tired, but I'm sure it's something that you picked up, and you're not gonna go to bed saying, "Oh, I didn't learn anything," because I'm sure you learned at least few things by now. Yeah, well, you'll learn more things. We have 10 more minutes left to learn a few more things. All right. So remember, I told you about. So remember when we started this dialogue, I told you that there were more than 50 subtypes of testing. Yeah, or more than 50, 100 subtypes of testing. There are many different names for different types. They overlap. They kind of like mimic each other. It doesn't matter. If you take a book for about testing, a book about software testing. It may have like 200 pages. Do you think you need to read all the 200 pages? Of course not, because you'll take another book. It's going to be another 200 pages, and it's going to be different terminology, but the same thing. So there were more than 50 different subtypes of testing, but manual QA engineers only use few of them. And those few of them you can see in front of you. This is something, guys, you need to memorize, you need to understand. So let's work together. Will take us 5 minutes, so please stay tuned. We will conquer this slide, yeah? So first I'll read the definition, then I'll explain what it does, and we will go through all of them, okay? So exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is an approach to software testing which focuses on discovery, learning, and investigation, and relies on creativity, experience, and intuition of the individual tester to quickly uncover defects, and is often described as simultaneous test design and execution. All right, my question to you guys. Let's imagine, so let's say I will, let's say you will go to the interview, yeah, you will interview for the position of quality assurance engineer, and I'll be your interviewer, I'll be your hiring manager, and I'll give you a cell phone, and I'll give you, and on the cell phone is going to be an Instagram application, and I'll give you a simple task. I'll say, well, you have 15 minutes. Please test this application. Please test this software. How would you test it? Please write down in the chat room. How would you test it? What would be your approach? Okay, use the software, post something, open the app, log in, use filters. Good job, good job. How well it works, like something. Explore the software. Filter. All right, the funny thing is, so all of you basically named an absolutely right things to test. But to summarize all of this is, first, you explore the software. Assuming you don't even know what the software is, you play with it, you explore it, you click on all the buttons, you try to identify what's important, you try to identify the main functionalities. Yeah, so whatever you said, all of the things you mentioned, you were right. All of these are the main functionalities of the software. Because Instagram realistically only has like 5, maybe 6 main functionalities. You know, upload a photo, apply a filter, share a photo, like a photo, comment on the photo. That's it, right? So you have like 5 major functionalities. It will take you like literally 10 minutes to, maybe less than 10 minutes to identify the main functionalities. And that's what exploratory testing is. It's a testing method. It's a testing approach that relies on your ability to discover, learn, and investigate. It has nothing to do with your knowledge of QA, because it's very important to understand how different screens work together, how different buttons work between each other. Even though we say that software development, it's sort of like a, you know, scientific, computer science-ish development process, there are many things that will be presented to you without any knowledge base or without any documentation. So a lot of it is going to be you just doing your exploratory testing, relying on your own discovery abilities. That's it. troubleshooting abilities, you can say that way. Yeah. So that's what exploratory testing is. It basically says that it's a testing technique that described as simultaneous test design and execution. So in your head, you create a test case and you execute it right away. It's not even written. And if you see something doesn't work right, you can definitely identify if the image is not being uploaded right. If you use the Instagram, right, you apply a filter and the filter is not applied. Do you have to have a computer science degree to see that something is wrong with it? I don't think so. You'll see it right away. You don't have to be a computer science major to identify if your image is not shared to your, brother or whatever. That's why exploratory testing is important. Okay, cool. Let's move to the next one, smoke testing. Smoke testing covers the most important functionality of a software and verifies that the software appears to work correctly. It precedes actual in-depth testing and aims to verify that the build is deployed successfully and that all components are running and ready for the actual test process. All right, guys, before I will ask questions about this one, let me tell you, it's a bit running ahead of our learning material, but the way the software is created, let me give you a short summary. So as I mentioned before, software is thousands and thousands of lines of code. Yeah. And at a certain point of time, developers need to, what we call compiling. They need to basically zip it into one single file so it can be installed on your, computer or mobile device or anything, right? Whatever the instance of what they are compiling, it's called the version, or it's called the build version. Probably everyone knows what the version is, right? The version of a website, the version of a mobile application, the version of the Microsoft Office, the version of whatever. Yeah. So the version, it's what we call a build. It's kind of like a fixed state of a software. Yeah, fixed state of a software. During the testing, during the development, developers will come up with many, or at least few of those fixed states. Yeah. So what they do, they compile millions of lines of code into one single file, which what we call a build. If you ever use the Windows, exe is the extension for executable for the software. If you used Android, it's APK, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a file. So what smoke testing does, because the higher chance of introducing a problem, like the highest of all chances of introducing the problem, would be right after when developers zipped all their code into that file. So what QA engineers do, they come in and they perform a so-called smoke testing where they only spend maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour to cover the main functionality of a software. So coming back to Instagram, main functionality would be, take a picture, apply a filter, upload a photo, share a photo, like a photo, leave a comment, like a photo. That's it. That's what smoke testing is. Why do they do that? Because the highest probability of something going wrong would be exactly at that moment. And a pretty cool story, I'll tell you why does it call the smoke test. 50, 70 years ago, during the manufacturing procedures of electronics or home appliance on the factories, after they created after they produced, let's say, an oven or a refrigerator, the first test, they also had their QA procedures, right? So the first test they would do, they would take the refrigerator and would plug it into the wall outlet. If they would see a smoke coming out of it, it would mean that the test failed. That's why they called it a smoke test. It's a quick test to verify that nothing major is broken right away. We still have it, and it means absolutely the same thing. So after the engineers compiled their code, we do the same thing. We spent 30 minutes to basically play with the software. If something is obviously wrong, you will see it right away. That's how it works. I've seen it many times. Usually, if something is wrong, the application won't even start. The application won't even run. So you don't have to spend 30 minutes. It's going to be like obvious. You'll see it right away. So that's what's the point of the smoke testing. Now, let's move into the regression testing. Regression testing ensures that the new changes in software do not break any existing functionalities. All right, very simple. Regression testing. Let's go back to our favorite example for today, Instagram. Let's say you work as a QA engineer for Instagram. Yeah? And you know that 3 months ago, you released, well, the company, the developers released a feature where you would, I don't know, like a photo, right? Or love the photo, whatever you call it. Yeah. So you know that 3 months ago you had this new feature which wasn't there before, where users were able to like a photo. And obviously we documented. We created in the form of a test case so that every release we will test the major functionalities. We would make sure that it works, right? So you know that it worked 3 months ago. You retested it 2 months ago and it worked. 1 month ago and it worked. For some reason, you're retesting it right now and it doesn't work. What does it tell you? Any ideas, guys? What does it tell you if it doesn't work? You know that it worked a month ago, but it doesn't work right now. What does it tell you? Bugs. Yeah, it's a problem. It's an issue. But what that issue means is that something that developers did broke the existing functionality. Yeah. So whatever the changes they made, they broke something that was working before. Hence, the name regression. It comes from that our code, yeah, our application regressed. It's not progressed, it's regressed. Hence, the name regression testing. That's all it is. Whatever that used to work before and doesn't work right now, that's what we call the regression testing. Any questions? No questions. Amazing. Love the session. I loved it too. I'm happy we have so many people here. Awesome. All right. Obviously, we will continue with more testing types, more awesome information about quality assurance tomorrow. I'm sorry, during the lesson number 2. That's probably going to be Sunday. All right, guys. So I'm done with my part. Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it myself.
All right. Thank you very much, Yuri. I will take it from here and will answer the questions as promised. Thank you. All right. So, guys, let me read the questions. Just please bear with me. Let me answer them one by one. Okay. All right. So, let's see what you got. What testing certification will this prepare us for? So, guys, you don't need any certificates in QA in the United States. You might need them in Australia, in UK, in Belarus, in Africa, but in the United States, you don't need any certificates in QA. You will always find companies that will try to sell you certificates, but you will never need those. Of course, after the completion of the course, you will get a certificate of completion, but you will never need it. Nobody gonna ask it. What companies do need is you to have a nice resume, a nice LinkedIn, to be confident about your what you do at work, confident about the theory, the terminology, and following instructions. Okay, so definitely not a certificate. They want to ask you what you do at work, about which tools you work with, what kind of experience do you have, what kind of project did you have, but definitely certificate, it's not something interesting. All right, let's see. Are you using Selenium, JMeter, or Load Runner? So in manual testing that we're going to that we are talking about, 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour, you don't need any Selenium because it's automation. And the JMeter, it's for performance testing. In manual QA, 95% of you will never need to do any performance testing. But if you will need to do performance testing, your manager or your lead just going to tell you, hey, go here, click this, check this. Okay, cool. Um, so black box tester can earn the salaries presented in the introduction. Of course, we are talking about manual QA, black box testers, 70 to 100K, 35 to 50 per hour. Correct. Let's see. When would you need automation instead of manual? Um, well, it's not instead. You need manual, but some kinds of testing you can automate, especially if you don't have changes every week or a lot of changes in the software, and it's stable. It makes sense to automate the test, to run it just by clicking one button. But in the real world, it's not always works like that because you have a lot of changes and you need to maintain it and it's cost a lot of money. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to do automation, but usually automation is done whenever you have something repetitive. For example, regression testing that repeats over and over and over again. That's something that's going to be a perfect candidate for automation. To learn more about um, about when you use automation, when you use manual, and why manual going to be alive and kicking, I just sent the link about 9 reasons manual testing will always be in demand. Now let's see. If the industry is moving toward automation, right or wrong, why would we choose to work in manual? Great question, and the answer to it is in the chat in the article 9 reasons manual testing will always be in demand. First of all, second of all, maybe in the future, in 20 years from now, AI, machines, robots, gonna do the jobs for us, and we're just gonna do yoga and meditate and enjoy our life, get our basically universal income, and we will just enjoy the life and will not work. But that's in the future. We are now, and we still can do a lot of money working in the IT. So I'm sure that for the next 10, 15 years, you're still going to have a lot of QA jobs. Now, another reason is because manual QA is something anyone can do, literally anyone can do, and automation is not something anyone can do. 80% will not be able to do automation or to learn it, or they will have a challenge doing that. That's why you must start with manual, get the job first, and then if you got the job in manual, it's an indicator that you can try learn automation. If you didn't get a job in manual QA, it's an indication that automation is definitely not for you. All right, Lindy? Cool. Will you use different operating systems, Mac, Windows applications, or would different browsers are involved? So it's both. You will test if you're testing web, you will test different browsers: Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge. Uh, some of you will test on MacBook, some of you will test on Windows, some of you will test on Android, some of you will test on iOS. You test what you're told. Okay, basically your job is to follow instructions, so you just do what you're told. The problem, again, I will repeat it one more time, the problem is not doing the job. The problem is getting the job, and that's why we are here for, to help you not only do the job, which is the simple part, but to get this job, not to waste your time, not to waste your effort, to get max your rate and minimum time. Cool. Do most companies have similar protocols for testing? Yes. Regarding the college credits, I don't think so. You can email advisors@careerist.com, but I don't think you will get college credits for our course. How many hours would I have to commit for the internship? So it needs to be at least 2 hours per day, at least for 2 weeks. But again, you're welcome to be more than 2 hours, more than 2 weeks, and you are welcome to be part of the internship until you get the job. So every month of your job search, your experience will just grow. Would this course count toward renewing, maintaining technical certifications? Have no idea. Please email advisors@careerist.com. I have no idea what you said. I don't think so. Okay, cool. What would be the schedule for the internship? Great question. Actually, we always try to help and support you more than anyone else. That's why we are trying our best to adjust the time of the internship that will work best for you. So it's something that you will be communicating with the lead of the internship after you graduate. But I know that this lead will do his best, or she will do her best to basically adjust the time that will work best for you. Now, guys, final reminder, you have the get contract and invoice button below. I think you can see it over here. You still can click the get button to get the contract and invoice. It will not be there for a long time. I see. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I see most of you already clicked it. I appreciate that a lot. And is the internship is with real companies? Yes, of course. It's going to be real projects, real companies. But the thing is that those companies, they don't like to have kindergarten. That's why they prefer to communicate through another person. So we hired a QA lead that will communicate between the graduates and the companies and the leads. So it's going to be a communication between the company and the lead and the team. So you're actually going to get more than anyone else ever before during the internship, because you will have a lead from us that will support you and help you. Of course, you need to be friendly, nice, and following instructions, and not asking same questions twice during the internship. But sometimes, even if you're going to ask it twice during the internship, the lead going to help you with that. But you just want to remind you that you're going to get an extra help, extra push during the internship as well. So yes, it's real companies, it's real projects that allow us to test their products, and you will be able to test web and mobile. You will have, basically different platforms, different devices, different tools for different projects, something that will make you much more confident during the job and during the interviews. So guys, let me just remind you, if you're going to have any personal questions or you're going to have questions that you forgot to ask today, just email advisors@careerist.com. And another reminder, I saw that we had a question about the days. It's Sunday to Thursday. The lesson's going to be Sunday to Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it live, or you can watch the video recordings that are going to be sent to you. Right? Awesome. Thank you very much for being with us. Hope to see all of you on lesson number 2. Please click the get contract and invoice and choose the option that works best for you. Thank you very much and see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.